So hello, good morning, evening or afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in from, and welcome to our latest edition of Susty Talk. You are here today with Edie's senior reporter, Sarah George, back after a long period of furlough. Happy to be back into the fold, and even happier that my first guest that I get to talk to for this series is Gabrielle from BT, who is a regular at our events, on our podcasts and on our webinars. So it's just nice to see a friendly face. How have you been, Gabrielle?
Good, and hello, Sarah, and welcome back. And I'm delighted to be talking to you today.
Yeah, fantastic. I think the last time we had you on was for our supply chains webinar a couple of months ago. How did you find that?
Yeah, that just seems like these days everything in the normal world seems like such a long time ago. But
Right.
I thought it was, as always, I thought it was really interesting event.
No, time is definitely really weird at the moment. I saw a tweet the other day that said, oh, imagine that Tiger King lockdown was only a few weeks ago. It genuinely does feel like two completely different worlds. And I know that you've told me that you're working from home from your dining table in London at the moment. So could you give an update on sort of what your team is up to as well?
Yeah, so we're all working from home at the moment. I guess, thankfully we all have laptops, we all have programs like Microsoft Teams, we have broadband connectivity. I think the important thing is to keep in touch with people, really. So I have daily update morning calls with my team just to make sure that, that we are feeling connected to each other. Obviously, it's a completely different way of working at the moment.
Mm-hmm. No, because when I think about people that have sort of connection and networking in events as a sort of core part of their job, I do think of you. Whenever I'm at an event, I usually run into you, and I know you're always at forums and networking representing BT, and you're their representative from COP as well. And this is something I'm finding at the moment, that normally I'd be out attending media briefings or conferences or just meeting people to record a podcast. So how do you keep the momentum of that kind of work going when you're at home?
It's funny. So initially I thought I would have nothing to do, and I thought my diary is now going to be completely clear. But what I've found is that I've actually never been busier. It seems that, in the past, you could just, even in the office, you could walk up to somebody's desk and you could have a 1-minute chat and you'd sort out whatever it was. At the moment, people are not going out, they're not going to meetings. So everybody seems to be, doing the Microsoft Teams meetings and doing emails at the same time. So the volume of emails, I think, has just exploded. I think the other thing for us, despite of the situation that we're in, the green agenda is very much at the forefront of our thinking. So just last week, we made 2 new announcements to try and help drive UK's decarbonisation to net zero and help in terms of the green recovery. So we launched 2 new initiatives. One is the Green Tech Innovation Platform, which is basically our way to try and hook up with startup SMEs that are looking at clean tech solutions. And the second one is the EV Fleets Alliance that we launched with the Climate Group, and that's for us to try and advocate for faster transition to low emissions vehicles here in the UK. So my advice to sustainability professionals, there is a lot of stuff going on virtually at the moment that it's possible just to dial into and participate in virtually. I guess for a lot of organizers, it's somewhat easier. You don't have to worry about venues and logistics, and you could just set up various calls. So it's incredibly busy, actually.
No, I really enjoyed catching up on the announcement. I have found since I've got back that there have been less company announcements. Normally I'd get a lot of emails that are like, oh, this company has launched this new scheme or launched this new strategy or launched a report. And now most of my emails are about joining calls for a green recovery, for example. So it's good to see that it is possible for new initiatives to come out. At the moment, I think there are obviously very valid concerns about things like, will the communications be well received? at the moment, and how are we going to implement these kind of new initiatives as well?
Yeah, no. I think though, I think we've been pleasantly surprised. I think initially when COVID-19 happened, I was quite worried that everybody was going to forget about the green agenda and what we were trying to do. But I find the discussions with policymakers and businesses and civil society around the green recovery quite exciting and encouraging.
Mm-hmm. No, there's definitely been a lot there, and I think sort of the business case for coupling up the economy with environment and people is coming out. And one of the things I wanted to touch with you on this is about COP, because I know that you have been going to COP on behalf of BT for a long time, and one of the big calls that is being put in a lot of these green recovery strategies is for the UK to make sure that COP is on track, even though it has been delayed. So I obviously have to get your thoughts on the delay and the new process in this new normal.
Yeah, I think obviously, it's unfortunate that it has been delayed, but I think that was inevitable and totally understandable, and it had to be delayed because, of course, governments and businesses are rightly focusing on the COVID response, and they're just, I think, wasn't enough capacity to do everything at the same time. So again, I think it's really up to us as sustainability professionals to keep the momentum going and to think about, okay, so here we are in June 2020, November 2021, what can we do to keep the drumbeat going? So like the fact that we made these couple of announcements, I think, to keep putting pressure on policymakers, on the UK government, to take the agenda forward through things like this EV coalition that we launched, for companies like BT and like edie to keep the momentum through virtual events, or how we engage with other people and how we network. So it's a double-edged sword. Having that in mind, like, let's not wait until November 2021. Let's just keep the drumbeat going, and hopefully see a lot of activity.
Yeah, it's dual really, because obviously it is disappointing to have a delay, and there are concerns about will we meet targets in time if there's a full year's delay. But on the other hand, you now have more time to plan and put your demands on the table and get just the logistics of the event sorted as well, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I agree.
Great. And we have to sort of bring it down to a BT level, I think, after taking a sort of trip to an international climate scale. So we're talking pretty much off the back of the launch of BT's 2019-20 Digital Impact and Sustainability Report. So for the people that haven't read it yet, what are some of the big highlight moments for you that you're most proud of from that report?
So I think for me that there are three things. Firstly is our continued reduction in our operational carbon emissions. So we have reduced those by 42% since 2016-17 and 18.6% just last year. And to me, that's pretty impressive. I think also the fact that we are continuing to reduce our energy consumption year on year. And we've now saved £343 million in our energy costs since 2009-2010. For me, the second thing is around how we're getting closer to 100% renewables. So last year, 92% of the electricity that we consume globally comes from renewable sources, and 100% of what we directly source from energy suppliers in the UK are renewables. So I'm quite hopeful that we will be able to reach our 100% target by December, where markets allow. And the third thing for me is really around our 3-to-1 net good target. So we have this target to help our customers save 3 times the end-to-end carbon impact of BT's business. And we achieved that target this year, which is 1 year ahead of plan. So we're now at a ratio of 3.1 to 1. And to be honest, when we launched this target in 2013, I just really didn't know how it would pan out and where we would get to. The fact that these products and services are now worth £5.5 billion, and we helped customers save 13 million tons of carbon last year. So I think that's great to see that our products and services are actually having a positive impact on carbon abatement.
Mm-hmm. Great. And I noticed on the renewable energy piece that you mentioned that you guys recently signed the resource
yes.
platform as well. So for the people that haven't seen our news story, this is a new sort of call to green recovery, saying, well, as much as renewable energy has to be part of a green recovery, it also has to be sort of business inclusive and help businesses lead the drive as well. So I thought that was really interesting to see.
Good.
And then obviously I think we should close on a look to the future. You said that when some of those goals were set in 2013, you weren't sure what was going to happen. So I have to ask sort of what's going to happen now that it's been met and what you're most excited to work on in the year to come.
Yeah, I think, you know, we're obviously working towards our 2045 net zero target.
Of course.
So that will require huge decarbonisation of our fleet and for us to continue to 100% renewables. I think what I'm excited about going forward is looking at whether we can massively increase the number of companies that have signed up to 1.5 degree net zero science-based targets. Mm-hmm. You know, when I personally started on this journey, there were very few of us, you know, looking at 1.5 degree targets. So is this the year where we're really going to see this change? So at BT, we're looking to engage with our suppliers to encourage them to sign up to net zero targets, to encourage them to buy renewables. And I really think working through supply chain is how we can try and reach scale. And I think that the second one for me is around EVs and what's really going to happen to that and charging infrastructure. I think that's going to be really exciting to see.
Mm-hmm. Well, exciting times ahead. I'm sure we'll check in many times over the next year, but thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Well, thank you very much.